Is now to talk more about this is Heather Zumarraga and Dan Geltrude, America's accountant. Great to see you both.
Hey, John.
Hey, John.
All right, so transitory inflation started right on back at the beginning of January. We're now into October. I don't know what the definition is. I think I got a C in macroeconomics, Heather, but what is the definition technically of transitory inflation? Because 10 months seems like a long time. Doesn't seem temporary to me.
No, it doesn't seem temporary. And I know last week you had mentioned that transitory. We found out the meeting was temporary. And why doesn't the Fed just say that? Because they know that most Americans understand the word temporary and know that it's a lie. Like you said, it's been 10 months. Your grocery bill, every time you go to the grocery store, is skyrocketing. You can't find rent that's affordable or housing that's affordable. Has anyone noticed that the shelves are empty? We saw the consumer price index up 5.4%, and the administration will say that your wages are increasing, so that this is all a great thing, right? But no, wages are actually down when you factor in inflation. For example, a rise of 5% in wages is actually a net negative for employees right now. So Americans are feeling it across the board. It's not transitory or temporary. I think this is a long-lasting, but hopefully not permanent issue.
Well, someone has seen what's going on in store shelves. Congressman Matt Rosendale talked to NewsMax yesterday. Dan, this is what he said.
If you would watch the newsreels now, Chris, you would think that you were watching something out of Russia from about 20 or 30 years ago, with bare shelves and supply chains being shut down.
You know, I thought this too, Dan, during the pandemic when you couldn't buy toilet paper. This doesn't happen in a country like the United States. We don't have empty store shelves like this.
Well, it shouldn't happen, but the congressman's observation is exactly right. That's the type of stuff that we've seen in these video montages of what goes on in communist countries. Look, we're a capitalist nation, which means the free market needs to run its course. And when you start to get government involved in every aspect of our life, particularly when they get over involved in the economy, which is the direction that this administration is going in, the outcome is not a good one. The reason that we are in the situation that we're in now, obviously it started with COVID. We won't put blame on the U.S. government for that. But our reaction to that in terms of shutting down the economy long term and continuing to do that and paying people to stay home, all that's doing is making this problem last longer and longer. This situation with inflation is not going to recede until the federal government starts to get out of the way and let our economy and the free markets run their natural course.
Heather, it's almost, and I'm not saying this, but it's almost as if the Biden administration wants the economy to crash so they have more justification to pass this Build Back Better agenda. We've seen that there's too much money in the economy right now. That's the inflation aspect. But you just heard Joe Biden say we need to do X because of Y, and the X is his Build Back Better plan. The Y is whatever he wants it to be, and this is the same argument they make every single time.
Well, that's a really poor argument. If you're going to sink the U.S. economy, you're going to cause the U.S. economy to tank so that you can pass your agenda. But hey,
and I'm not saying that's what they're doing. I'm not saying that's what they're doing. But you know, it is kind of like that when he says, we need this. This is only going to happen if, this passes. It's almost like they want it to happen.
Well, and then they have an excuse saying, oh, the unemployment rate ticks up and that Americans need help. We're all dependent more on the welfare state. A third of Americans were making more on unemployment assistance during the pandemic with the supplemental bonus than they were working, mainly in the leisure, travel, and hospitality industry, for example. And so I actually think Americans aren't going to fall for it if that is part of someone's plan in the administration, because Americans in general, they see the price of gas at the pump at 7-year highs. And they're going to say enough is enough. No more spending, regardless of if you're a Democrat or a Republican, because prices are skyrocketing. People can't afford it.
Yeah, well, Neil Young said better to burn out than fade away when it comes to the, I guess, his music career. Not necessarily a good thing with the economy either. But Dan, a lot of the mainstream media were almost bragging about these cost of living adjustments and Social Security checks, the biggest increase since 1982. I mean, that's not a good thing because all those gains are canceled out by inflation.
They certainly are. And look, when you talk about, for instance, when Heather mentioned before about how we have salaries and wages going up, but you have to figure this. Salaries and wages going up, this is the accounting part of my brain working, you have to pay tax on that increase. So you're not netting as much as you think you are. And then you factor in inflation, which is a tax across the board. Net, you're falling behind. So to be crowing about how wages are going up and that's better for everyone, if inflation is outpacing that, then people are falling behind. And that's the message that doesn't seem to be resonating for people to understand. Although I think that's going to change as people see their bank accounts being lowered because their costs are more than what their wages are going up.
The Biden economy, not a bumper sticker right now that anyone wants to run on. We'll see you guys next week on the Money Huddle. Our thanks to Dan and Heather. Great to see you both.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
All right.